All right, folks. Good morning, everyone. Well, you know me already. I just gave my name in the little introduction. Maybe if I can say a few more things. Like I've been with Collabora for 13 years. Like we are open source consultants that have been helping a bunch of companies across the planet with many Linux kernel, GPU, etc. needs, CI as well, and delivering like a full systems. And the past year and a half, have been like heavily involved in KernelCI and driving a lot of like the change there. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to dive into what has been happening recently in KernelCI. And one of the things that we like to talk a lot is who is our audience in the KernelCI project. It's definitely like a huge focus on. Can you see my point? Yes. Huge focus on the maintainers and the upstream developers that are working in the community. And then we also want to talk to all the hardware vendors and people building products on top of the kernel. So all those folks, of course, they have a bunch of needs around testing, like requesting testing and adding, improving testing into the kernel or evaluating test results. So that's like the general picture of where we are working for in the KernelCI project. And I would like to announce our new members as well that has joined us recently. Linato is a new premier member of KernelCI. We thank them a lot, and they're coming back. They were part of the KernelCI in the beginning, and it's nice to see the community coming back to the project. And also Elisa, who has joined us as associate member, has been like a sister project of us in the KernelCI in the Linux Foundation. So we are looking forward a lot to collaborate with Elisa on the functional safe side of things as well. And then there is also new players in the KernelCI ecosystem, has been like joining as connecting themselves to our architecture to execute tests or to submit results and so on. We have like, I'll be going through like the architecture in a bit, but we have this concept of like listening to the events of new test requests that are coming out of the KernelCI. Qualcomm in the past like few months like connect themselves in their Texas Instrument, RISC-V International, and Microsoft as well. In terms of like new submitters of test results, we also have Qualcomm, Texas Instrument, RISC-V International. They listen to events and then give the results back to us. And we have 3 new hardware labs as well. The Founders.io, Penguintronics, and from Quarantine, we have a few individuals who added their lab in KernelCI as well. And then when KernelCI behaves as a hardware test executor for other CI systems, recently we enabled a connection with the NetDev BPF community, and we have hardware executing tests for them and reporting results back. Oop, okay. So that's the architecture, and I think I spent like quite some time on this slide to try to go into some details. There will be like a few more information in the upcoming slides about it. But I think here we can really understand like what's going on in KernelCI like recently. It's a little bit too small, right? To see from there. Maybe I can zoom in. Let me see. Or I can go to 1 second. Yeah, maybe this is better. So this is from the docs.kernelci. What is that? Oh, it's all gone. So let me go back here first so we can see the full thing. So it's like just the overall picture of KernelCI today. Like we have a core orchestrator, which is Maestro, where we build a bunch of kernels here. We create like the test requests that are going to be executing different hardware labs. And we have a CI ecosystem that can optionally listen to a bunch of events. And then results end up into KCIDB. We've been doing KCIDB, but that's something I'll be talking a bit. And then we have our dashboard and KCIDB. But let me go to the more zoomed image so we can talk about things in detail. One of the key elements in the architecture that we've been looking at is KCIDB as a command line tooling for the whole community to interact with KernelCI. That's something that we've been improving with a bunch of parts like since December. We've been adding a lot of things there, and more recently, there's a few more support coming up. And it's something that we want like for maintainers to put like in their scripts, in their day-to-day for interact with the test results in KernelCI. So like we can pull the results, we can request KernelCI to execute certain tests, we can drive by sections through it, and it's like there is a lot we can do. Like KCIDB is still like in early days. We've been developing like more and more. Sasha now has become a new contributor in KCIDB, sent a bunch of patches there. So we've been working a lot on making that possible. And KCIDB is depending on the API that we create on the dashboard. Like I think many of you have seen the KernelCI web dashboard at dashboard.kernelci.org. It has a REST API in there that is the source of results for our KCIDB tooling, and then some other people are also looking to pulling data directly from KCIDB from our REST API there. And the web dashboard is a place where we've been building notifications. It's still like a POC level for us. It has been taking like a while to clean up the data, but we've been building like notifications in there. There is a process as well to highlight the regressions in the dashboard, so we can see clearly if a regression for a given build or a given boot is a new one, or is something that has been like in there like for a while. We've been trying to bring that kind of like high level piece of information instead of like just like throwing you the results of the test. So it's one thing like if you know that that test has been failing like since forever, or if it's one new regression. So that's something that we've been trying to clean up in KernelCI, so we can give the community like the right information without like burden people, because there is too much data, too much noise in a CI system, as well as you know if you've been running CI systems. What else is important here? From Maestro, yeah, we have all the trees that we've been building. We have the artifact generation, root file systems, and we'll have like more talks later today from Texas and Microsoft on detailing like some of the things they do to listen to events in here. But then here you can see like all the hardware labs that we have from a few companies, and the different CI systems that are contributing data to KernelCI. We have 0 Day, we have Red Hat, CKI, Sysbot, we have Microsoft, Texas Instrument, Linaro, RISC-V, Mark Brown with his own system, ARM, Qualcomm, and more will be coming up soon, I believe. There is also storage servers, because some CI systems won't have like a place where they can like store the artifacts for us. So we've been like maintaining this service. There's like some API tokens you get from us, and then you can just like send your logs, so we can store them and show that in KCIDB and the dashboard. Okay, what else? KCIDB NEG. We've been rethinking like a lot of the concept that we put in KCIDB like a few years ago. The project has grew like quite a lot in terms of like data, and we need to revisit this. So we've been creating KCIDB NEG, and right now we're in the middle of like the migration towards like the new system. The API is not really changing much. It's just like the entry points where you have to connect and pass your token. So we are trying to bring the community into the new system. And one nice thing is that we've been adding some log parsing capabilities into KCIDB, so it's able to give you like a snippet of where your crash dump is, which kind of a failure that is, and then we can combine multiple failures that are probably having like the same origin, the same like source, or the same commit that's creating like that regression. We can combine that and allow the dashboard and KCIDB to have like a high-level information to be seen. Questions on this? I think sometimes it's quite confusing going through a lot of those errors for people. Okay, I'll move on then. So yeah, that's just like some of the things I just said, just summarize web dashboard. Right now, it is an active development project. The KernelCI project has been sponsoring it, like with the membership payments that we get from our members. So if you have feedback on the dashboard, by the way, like you can come to us, you can give that, and then we are going to be putting that in the backlog of the team that's helping us with the web dashboard development. Log parsing capabilities. Oh, I forgot to add an example here. Maybe I'll find you one later and send like to update the slides here. We have the email notification system that we've been growing. On the Maestro side of things, there is like a lot of work right now for the stability of the system. We've been realizing that there is so many things that we have to do for building all the kernel configurations or execute like all the boot tests in the various labs that are in KernelCI, that we end up like just losing some data like in a few places, like either Kubernetes when it has to spin up like a lot of builds, like we'll make some mistakes and so on. So we've been trying to validate like is everything we're expecting to build actually like landing as a result into the dashboard, and we are trying to find like the gaps into that and dive into the architecture of the system to make sure that we are not like missing data at the end of the day, because we've been getting reports from users that one day there's like 27 builds, the other day like there's like 23, but what's happening with those like four builds that disappeared? Like we need to give like a clear picture to the community on that, and we've been improving the stability there. Yeah, we have the storage server that we created. We've been revamping KCIDB. I've made that comment already, so I guess we can move on unless people have questions. The KCIDB CLI, that's something that we've been working on. I gave a lot of details on it already. We can send test jobs through Maestro. That's a feature that we've been supporting since a few months. Bisection is something that works, but it's still like a work in progress for us. Like the script will sometimes will fail, but it's something that's possible to use if you're interested in bisecting things through KernelCI. And then the support of like using KCIDB for getting access to the dashboard API, and then have like this really like small pieces that you can bring together to analyze the data using KCIDB. Like you can reconfigure it like a lot, and also pull like JSON output formats in your command line for parsing. I think that that's pretty good for the community to script things in KernelCI. One thing that's going to be a wider discussion later, I'll just like mention it like very quickly, but we've been trying to define a .kernelCI YAML file, like in the same way that you have, not like the same concept exactly, but like we have GitLab CI and GitHub Actions file where you can specify what you need to test in your CI pipeline. We've been thinking on how do we hand over that capacity to the maintainer and to the community and to users in general, so they could start like building files where they can list like the branch and the configs, the architectures, list of tests, etc., etc. Later today, the plan is to have like active discussions on this. I think that's going to be at 2 p.m. today. So we could dive a little bit more into this to understand like all the more details into how to offer a .kernel.ci YAML file to the community. And another thing that I would love to, maybe we'll have time in the end of this presentation by the speed I'm going here, for us to have more discussions, which is part of the goal of this initial presentation, is that one of the big gaps that we have in KernelCI today is the hardware information for the tests. Like on KCIDB, the only thing that we are carrying right now, and that's only for a few of the submitters in there, is that we have like the platform name, and for the ARM and RISC-V devices, we have like the compatibles, but there's like a lot more hardware information that we may want to carry. Like for example, when we integrate with NetDevCI, we are testing on specific networking cards, but we don't have that information in KernelCI yet. So we need to work on some specifications for the hardware information in KernelCI. Because that's, I think right now that's limiting like the value for a good part of the community that really wants to see detailed hard information or look for tests happening on a particular hardware configuration, let's say like a certain CPU or a certain family of hardware, or a certain vendor and so on. We need to start looking to this effort on the KernelCI community. Okay, and then the things that we've been, in terms of the CI ecosystem, we've been, oh, there is a mistake in there, I forgot to finish it, bringing like new labs and new CI systems to KernelCI. Like we continue to have like conversations with more CI systems and more labs that have been looking into connecting themselves into KernelCI. So that's like ongoing work on the KernelCI community. We had this integration with NetDevCI as well. That was very interesting to do. I think there's like a lot of potential for improvement in there, given like the way that things are set up today. But that's already helping some of the community members to get their hardware tested through like the NetDevCI infrastructure, and help them get patch merged on the NetDevCI side of things. There has been a lot of discussions with Elisa on how we use KernelCI for the goals of functional safe kernel testing, and that's like just the beginning. I think there's like a huge amount of work like in front of us on connecting building the requirements and then connecting that to the test case and being able to navigate into KernelCI to understand like where are those tests, are those configured in the right way for the functional safety testing, and then collecting those results and showing them in a way that makes sense for the functional safe testing work that we've been discussing with Elisa project. Like it's just the beginning, and I think there will be like a lot of things to do in the coming years there. We've been also working with all the CI systems in KernelCI to improve the quality of the data in KCIDB. Like sometimes there's like a little bit of information missing, or a log that was not sent, or some test status would have like a different, the wrong status, or I think there was a bunch of cases. I don't remember all of them right now, but we've been working on that layer of making sure that the data that's landing in KernelCI is growing in quality like more and more. Because it doesn't help us if we have like a terabyte of data in our database, and then you go to look into some of the submissions in there, and it's missing like key information for the maintainer, for the community to look at the test results and have like insights about it and take decisions based on that data that they see in there. And we keep looking for more collaboration with other CI systems, other test systems. Some of them are joining KernelCI. Like we've been like having more and more intense discussions with Leonardo. Like now that they're joining KernelCI, on how he used some of the tooling that we both have and drop the maintenance like on both sides. So there is like a lot of work ahead of us in reducing the fragmentation and duplication across the community. Like one thing that became pretty clear to me in those like years in KernelCI is that there is not much investment into the testing side of things, right? So we can't really like keep maintaining a bunch of like systems across the community like with the amount of like people have right now. Like we really need to start like reducing more and more the fragmentation, duplication, so we can get like more and more data to the community in a common way and common reports like that are easy to understand and to be delivered to the community. Like for example, the stable team like Greg and Sasha, they have been like calling to KernelCI to build like a common report from multiple submitters, so we can on one hand organize the data. On the other hand, I think that will help the community to have like a more common tooling, more common standards and services for the CI side of things on the kernel, right? So that's a lot of the work that we've been trying to do there. And then when you look what's next, there is maybe some of you saw on the main list the TSC restructuring work that we've been doing. Essentially, like throughout the history of KernelCI, and then when we set up like the project on the Linux Foundation, we had a TSC that was active, that was contributing to the project, like every single member of it. And since like we don't have like rules of re-election like every year or something, kind of like create like a departure between the active members and the TSC, which happens like I think part of the growth process. But now we are trying to bring like a new TSC structure that's going to be approved by the board at some point in the coming weeks, and elections are going to happen. So anyone who wants to come and work with us in KernelCI and be part of TSC, you can come and place your name for being voted for the TSC. We also need to finish the transition to the new KCIDB. And once we do that, that will open the door for making improvements to the schema. If you navigate through the dashboard, you might see like some of the slowdowns that we have in the database. But with the new KCIDB project, which is still maintaining the old schema because we can't really like move SQL schema like that easy because of the dashboard right now. But once we do that, that will allow us to move the schema and database like models much faster than what we have in KCIDB right now, where it may take like a few days and break a lot of the data in that process. So we really need to move forward and deploy this new KCIDB project that we created. We need to keep growing the notification system. That's something that's, as we talk more and more to maintainers and get feedback from them about the KernelCI project, like we've built a dashboard, we've built like a KCIDB, which are all great tooling, and we'll need like all those things. And then they tell us like, can it be just like a 0 day that throw me an email? It's like, yeah, we can't do that. So we've been trying to grow our email notification system in KernelCI. So it becomes like a better and better over time to deliver like the right information without giving noise into the maintainer. And that's like not just like working on some scripts to send email notifications, is fixing things across like the whole stack of KernelCI. So we can, when there is a build failure, maybe you want to start like bisecting that at some point, like in the future. When a boot happens as well, maybe we need to enable like the bisection. So there's like a lot of architecture steps we need to take over the years to improve like the notifications in a step-by-step manner. Yeah, there is always more core infrastructure improvements that we want to do in KernelCI. That's an ongoing effort, which is never going to end. And since last week, there is this possible KernelCI workshop that we'll be doing in Amsterdam, end of August, like just getting some people in a room and try to discuss like the strategy and roadmap and some of the main tasks. Try to really hash down on a few of the key things we've been focusing on KernelCI lately. And there is also a new weekly call that we've been trying to spin up, maybe starting next week, to discuss like roadmap and more high-level bits of KernelCI, and then start diving into some of the work that we need to detail, implement, and move forward like in KernelCI. Okay. What else? Yeah, that's a slide we've been keeping since the beginning of this new iteration of the KernelCI architecture. That we talk a lot about the architecture, but there is also a cultural shift in the community and the industry that has to happen when we talk about kernel testing. So we definitely need to keep focusing on bringing up the testing validation conversation in the community and in the industry, and like pushing folks to bring like a lot of like the internal closed stuff that's not like so secret in many cases, just like another CI system that's being run like internally, and so like bring more and more that stuff to the community, and hopefully like we can start like building better and better kernels for everyone like through that. A little bit of the KernelCI Foundation, KernelCI project goals. Of course, like it's about primarily ensuring like the kernel quality, the stability and long-term maintenance of the kernel, like supporting the community on all that by providing a CI system. There is, in this new iteration of KernelCI with the new architecture, we've been focusing a lot on the ecosystem element. Like before, for those that are old enough, like KernelCI was just like a CI system with a bunch of embedded labs connected to it. But now we've been really trying to see how we can help any player in the community, like doing testing, and bring like some value from KernelCI that can help them deliver more to the community. So it's really like about like building the ecosystem. There's like some core components that I guess we always have in KernelCI, but we don't want to like enforce any KernelCI way into people. We want to like bring as many contributors as possible, bring as many projects as possible within KernelCI, like start like to act as an umbrella, build like a bunch of working groups, standards, like and APIs that will allow us more and more to have like more test data, more insights, more results that will help like stabilize the kernel over the coming years. And yeah, KernelCI has been also managing like the resources, the core infrastructure. Like we've been having donations, like for example from Microsoft, that has been helping us like tremendously on maintaining the infrastructure up and running, and that's like part of the goal of KernelCI, like that there's like so much infrastructure out there that you need for running a CI system like this. And KernelCI is set up in a way that we can help manage that complexity and just like offer a service to the community instead of like letting the community like struggle with like figuring out how to run a bunch of like infrastructure. And of course, we've been to the extent of our budget limitations, but we've been sponsoring like some key initiatives that are aligned with KernelCI goals. At least that's something that we wish to do when budget like is available for KernelCI to work on those things. These are our current member companies. So we have CAP, Google, Microsoft, Texas Instruments, Collabora, Linaro, and Red Hat are our premier members. There is more to come. We can't really talk about that yet, but we've been in discussions with more companies. As general members, we have Belibri, and as associate member, we have Elisa in KernelCI. And that's our ambassador. Greg has been very important for KernelCI since like the beginning, and was responsible for also the setup of KernelCI as a project on the Linux Foundation, and everyone that talks about testing, he tries to send that person directly to KernelCI. So he's someone who has been helping us a lot in that process. And yeah, if you feel that KernelCI is something that's going to help your company a lot, please come and join us, become a member. We'll be pretty happy to have your company in KernelCI. And that's like our pricing fees. All right, I think that's it. I had 30 minutes. Maybe we can have some discussions and questions.
I'm going to be selfish and ask my own question before I hand the mic to someone else. Okay, so can you get back to your architecture diagram?
Of course.
One of the questions I had, one of the things that kind of vexed us in the early days of trying to consolidate different test frameworks is, where in this diagram do your test definitions live? It's like what constitutes an actual test that you're running on target? Where does that stuff live?
Right now, we use the test definitions from Linaro.
Okay.
And it's live inside Maestro. But okay, maybe we need to start like putting that as its own box into the architecture, right?
Okay, and so do tests in your architecture, do tests have to be integrated in the image, or can you push like a binary to a running system? Or does it have to be integrated into the root file system before you deploy that root file system over? So the kernel/root file system.
Okay. There is two ways, right? One is the Maestro way, that we have labs connected to it, and we have Maestro generate the build artifacts. If you go through that route, you are going to get the root file system that's generated by Maestro. You can't really insert anything into it. Would love to. Maybe that's a use case that we need to evolve over the years. That people should be able to insert like certain bits into the root file systems. So if you're running the test on artifacts that are based on Maestro artifacts, you can't really change them right now.
Okay.
But that doesn't prevent you from running them by yourself. But then you're not getting like that much help from KernelCI, apart from being in the CI ecosystem here and then throwing the results into KCIDB, right? Because most of the CI system here, they don't use any test definitions from KernelCI. They just like have their own LTP build and K-self-test build, their special test suite build, and then they send the results there.
Okay. But yeah, so I guess that my question is, so is each lab running their own suite of tests? My question is, how would, if I want to come to the KCID or the KernelCI ecosystem and like start running a new test, or because like what I'd like to do is like for boot time testing, I want to run boot time tests on a bunch of different boards, and that involves maybe some custom patches, some custom configs. But then I also have like some data gathering tools. So how would I integrate that into the ecosystem so that I could start getting data back? Yeah,
you'd need to integrate like your root file system and the configuration to build it. Like we have the tooling to build the root file system in KernelCI. You integrate your lab in, and then we have to do the pipeline configuration on those devices. We'll be testing those things with that root file system, etc., with those kernel trees, blah, blah. Okay. So there's like a multi steps that you have to complete to bring your own test into KernelCI.
Okay, thanks. Any other?
Sorry. I won't name any names, but there are some major email providers that have secret unpublished rules that randomly change and make it really freaking hard to get email. So there's frustration, and I'm getting ready to change my own email provider because of it. You mentioned twice email notifications.
Yep.
How much workload is that to maintain that, given the Byzantine rules the major players inflict on everybody else, making it really hard to get email now?
Well, our email notification system is pretty basic at the moment. So we are sending like a few dozens per day. So we're not getting hit by anything yet. But I believe we'll get there at some point. Yeah. But I mean, I came from the kernel. I'm a kernel developer, and then somehow I've learned to drive like a lot of these architecture things. So we have to depend a lot of people's knowledge to come and help us. Like, look how I build like a scalable email notification system. That because many people have been doing this in the industry. Right? Like, we just need to go there and ask those folks. Because I don't have all those answers.
So on this diagram, you have the web dashboard and also KCIDB tool. And so the web dashboard is for everyone to access to see results and so forth, right? KCIDB seems to be, for anyone to customize things or get their own information. Do you see that the majority of use by maintainers, by the end users who are interested in these test results, would be going through looking in a web dashboard, or would it be more of going through the KCIDB to implement their own interfaces?
Yeah. So we've been asking a few maintainers having like feedback sessions in the past like few months, and the thing that we heard the most was the notifications. Because the dashboard is like you have to go there every day and check your tree, right? And then like navigate through the test results. Of course, we've been improving the dashboard and the architecture more and more, so we surface the right data on top. We're not there yet. Like for every single test that we execute in KernelCI, and there's like a few test suites and thousands of tests. We need to figure like which ones are the ones that are regressing, and then we need to put that in front of the user. We are going to get there, and maybe that will make it easier to just go to the dashboard and see like, oh, there is one regression on my code. But even so, like having a notification is like people, oh, I don't even need to go to the dashboard anymore. It's actually, the notification comes with a link to the dashboard. And then you go and you see the details of your regression. So
yeah. If there is a view, I mean, so the feedback I'm getting from our side is email there's too much email, right? So people don't like that. And what they're saying is, I want to spend 5-10 minutes a day and know where am I, right? And I want to go to some page that I have bookmarked or something that will give me this information that I'm interested in, right? And so I think the question is going to be how, I mean, I have no idea what that's going to look like, right? But somehow can we come up with something that will act as that window into our information?
I think at the end of the day it will be the three of them, right? Because I can ask another person, and they're like, I want the command line tooling, and I want to go to the dashboard because I like visuals.
So the answer is all.
Sorry?
The answer is both.
Yeah, it's both. It's the three of them.
Sounds good.
That's what makes it complex, right? Because, and we've been looking. We were discussing this just yesterday, like how to make like KCIDB more intelligent in terms of can it actually show like the GIF between two runs, and then I can see like exactly what's failing. Like that's something that you just like spin up like a command line there, and it's going to tell you, right?
Yeah, so basically, we have been talking about this, like getting a notifications and how do we configure. So at the end, it happens to be that we need to go to a repo, update the emails. And now I see that we are moving to a new KCIDB, right? So now is there any plans to expose the API or the interface to the UI so that developers or maintainers can subscribe easily rather than going and raising a commits?
That's the goal. Like we just need to have like enough cycles with the dashboard development team to bring users in, like user accounts into the dashboard. So you could have like your login and your like configurations and so on, and then you can bring notifications in there, right? Because it's running in the back end. It's the same system, but we don't have a connection in the front end yet. So we could like, oh, I want to see notifications for this specific scenario, and then you just like raise your hand, and then you receive email. Like that's what we are planning at least. Like we need to build a lot more things first. But that would be great. Like if you can just log in, select your notifications, or build your own specific, like a query for it.
Because everyone won't be concerned with all the trees. They might be monitoring some specific trees, right? So in that case, it will be very useful.
Yeah.
So actually, is the web dashboard customizable? Like, can a user create like their own view of something?
Not yet, but we plan to do so. Like we had a proposal from the developers at some point a few months ago, but we didn't have like a time to work on it. But we want to get there as well. That should be in the roadmap. Yeah, my take is that we have to keep developing this dashboard for a bunch of months, like maybe 1-2 years more.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay. Thank you.